Hey, what's going on in this video? I am going to cover how you can break free from any addiction in these 5 steps. Addiction has been something that's been close to me. I've been sober for 13 years now. I lost count. That's how you know when you really beat something, when you stop counting how many days or how many months or years you've been sober for. So yeah, it's around 13 years, I think, for me. And one of the things I recognized from getting sober was that I just kind of moved from one addiction to the next, to the next, to the next. And that's what I want to help people avoid doing. Like once you stop alcohol, then you start eating too much sweets or carbs or whatever, then you gain 50 pounds. We just want to streamline this. And this is kind of the process I went through. So recently I've been really digging into like just breaking free from everything. And I've come to a few awarenesses that I think will really help you streamline the process of breaking free. So it's basically a 5-step process. And step 1 is to observe what you're telling yourself about the thing that you're addicted to. I'm just going to use my example through this. I was addicted to pop and sugar after alcohol and broke free from alcohol. And so what I was telling myself was that I need to stop. I need to get into better shape. I need to get healthier. And so the recognition in that, learning to read between the lines in that, was that every time I was saying that to myself, what I was saying when I said I need to get healthier, what I was really saying to myself was I am not healthy. And when I did that recontextualization, what it did was allow me to observe all of the thoughts associated with getting into better shape or stopping drinking pop and stopping eating sugar. And so once I brought awareness to it, I started noticing how often I was actually telling myself that. So if you're drinking too much alcohol, you're going to notice that you constantly tell yourself that you're drinking too much. And so if you're telling yourself that you're drinking too much, what you're essentially telling yourself is that you can't stop. And so, or this thing has power over you, or you don't know how to stop, or whatever it may be. And so what I was telling myself is that I need to get in better shape. I was telling myself I'm not in good shape. So read between the lines of the thoughts, then observe the thoughts, just start noticing them. So I just started noticing every time I catch a glimpse of myself in the mirror, I was like, I noticed my mind saying, you're so out of shape. And so as I brought more awareness to what I was telling myself, those thoughts began to reduce. As those thoughts reduced, I started to get more clarity around why I was using caffeine and sugar to avoid pain. So then step 2 is, as you have this clarity, you just want to stop. Now it doesn't have to be forever. Okay. So whatever it is that you're doing, just stop. And this is how actually I stopped drinking alcohol. I started doing these months called dry January, where I just wouldn't drink for the month of January. And the clarity that would come to me in those months and the productivity was like just so insane. But the thing that I got most from it was I was able to start recognizing in that month why I was going to the substance. Every time stress would come up, every time I would have a fight with somebody, I would think, oh, I just want to have a beer right now. And so what that showed me was that I was avoiding the stress. I was avoiding confrontation. That was one of the big ones for me. I was avoiding the pain of not being accepted, right? And so when you stop for this allotted period of time, you can just tune into what state of consciousness, what emotions you're feeling when you are on this period of abstinence. So it's like, just pay attention, just observe them. The third thing is, once you observe those feelings, when you observe them, then you can ask yourself, can you handle it? So like one of the things when I quit caffeine, I was having insane headaches and like they were really, really bad. But then when I recognized to myself that how bad is the pain of this headache? And it's like, when I really tuned into it, it was like 5 out of 10. And I was like, can I handle a 5 out of 10 pain? It's like, yes, I can. Am I willing to deal with this 5 out of 10 pain so that I can maximize my potential? Because I recognize that all addiction and all escape is essentially blocking you from living your best life. So was I willing to deal with the pain of the headache for, it was actually 7 days at last. I thought it was going to be 3, but it was 7. So was I willing to deal with that 5 out of 10 pain in order to maximize potential? And the answer was yes. And so I was able to just recognize I could handle the feeling. But you could also do this with, let's say, for example, rejection. That was one that came up for me recently. So every time I experienced a pain of rejection, every time I put out a YouTube video or a podcast and it got 2 views, that pain of not being accepted, the pain of people not liking my, it would make me want to go to have a pop or eat sugar. And so now what I was doing was I was building a case for all of the things that pop and sugar were helping me avoid. And then the step is learning how to let go of that feeling for good. So once I recognized that I was avoiding rejection, I could start asking myself, well, what was the first time in my life I experienced rejection? And I could take myself back to that place in my life and I could allow myself to experience the pain of rejection, not only in where it began, but also in other moments in my life, to feel it completely so that I no longer needed the addiction or the thing to prevent me from feeling that pain, right? I had dealt with it. So the mind no longer needed to protect me. The mind no longer needed to keep me comfortable. And then the last thing I will add is that all addiction is the avoidance of feeling like we're not maximizing our potential. On the other side of the thing that you need to quit is the best version of you. But also that best version of you comes along with facing all of the things that alcohol or drugs or caffeine or sugar has been helping helping you avoid. So while it's heavy to think about all of those things that you need to go through to become your maximum potential, I think what is a lot heavier is living your whole life kind of like unaware of all of that stuff and getting to your final hours and saying, oh man, I didn't do what I was put on this planet to do. And that will be the ultimate pain. This is the regret of not living your life to the fullest. So these are the 5 steps. I hope they serve you. I recorded a longer podcast on how I kind of went through this whole entire process. We'll put a link to that here if you want to listen to the whole conversation. But this is where it begins. It's all through awareness and it's all through observation of what it is that we're avoiding.